Guys, it's Reeks. In this video, I wanted to run you through how to validate your startup MVP. So whether that's an app or a piece of software or a web portal or a marketplace, whatever it may be, you can use these strategies to identify the problems that you want to solve and then figure out exactly what you need to provide from a solution point of view as a product to solve that problem and get customers. So if we start off up here, it all starts with essentially identifying a problem. So have you experienced something in your daily workflow if you're a business owner that you think can be improved upon? Or have you noticed something in any markets that you serve? If you work with clients or work with certain types of people, have they always complained about a particular problem that they're having? Or is it something that you just notice generally? Now, I'd urge you to be more careful with identifying problems that you haven't experienced firsthand. In fact, Y Combinator, the accelerator in the US, are now saying that they're less likely to fund or they're less likely to be interested in teams who are working on problems that they haven't experienced themselves. And the reason behind that is because it's often very hard to come up with solutions and build solutions for problems that you haven't experienced firsthand. So ideally, you want to be solving a problem that you have a very strong, deep understanding and knowledge of. And that's step one. So once you've identified the problem, you then need to consider possible solutions and you need to define possible solutions for that particular problem. You need to try and understand if there's any solutions on the market already, potential competitors. And when you look at it from a competitor standpoint, the wrong way to think about competitors is, oh, the idea's already been done or the startup's already been done. What that actually shows is validation and it's proof that the problem actually exists and there's people out there trying to solve it. So you want to define possible solutions and you want to gather information around that. So this is this stage here. Now the gathering information part is where you go out before market research, you look at, as I say, competitors and do a competitor analysis. You potentially interview and speak to people in your target audience who match your ideal customer profile. And you want to extract as much information as possible to put together a plan of action and a cloud of information as to whether this problem actually exists and whether you're the right person in the right position to solve it. If you haven't been able to do that, then you need to go back and re-identify the problem. Maybe you're looking at it from the wrong position or the wrong way, or maybe that problem just doesn't exist. And if you're coming up with solutions to problems that don't exist, we call that building solutions in search of a problem, where you come up with an app or a software or a product and then try and find a market for it. That's the wrong way of doing it. You actually want to flip that on its head and find the market with the problem first, then build the solution to fit that market. So once you've done that and you've defined possible solutions, you want to put together a prototype. This is something that we do all the time for clients. We will look at that problem, come up with a solution with them, and then we'll put together a very simple prototype. That prototype is usually one or two features. We try and keep it as lean, as simple as possible. Anything more than one or two features maximum for a prototype just is too confusing. If you think about it from a customer point of view or a user point of view, when they sign up to a new tool and they're trying to self-onboard, if they can't get to that aha moment very quickly, where they understand what it is you do and what you're solving and how to use it, then they're just going to bounce. They're not going to engage. They're not going to continue with their trial into a paid customer, and you're wasting everyone's time. So you put that prototype together. Then you want to move into the testing phase, so testing that solution. This is where you get back in contact with those people that you might have interviewed in your ideal customer profile, or you find new people who fit that ICP, and you basically just show them the prototype. You jump on interviews, Zoom calls, show them the prototype, maybe share it with them so they can play around with it. We use Figma for our prototyping. That allows us to put together like an interactive prototype. It's not the real thing. It's not got a database, it's not got real features or code behind it, but it does act as a visual reference point to test the idea. And that's where we get to testing the solution. Does this actually work for our ICP? Is it solving the problem? Giving people the opportunity to kind of play around with that solution that you've worked on. Then we get into evaluating the effectiveness of that prototype. At this stage, you want to be looking at the prototype you put together. How is your ICP responding? Are they responding positively? Are they responding negatively? Are they saying, we're already solving this in a certain way? Or we're already using these tools to do it, so we don't need yours? Or are they saying, yeah, this is fantastic. We want to join the waitlist. We want to prepay. If you can get money and cash collected up front to prepay for a solution, that's a really good indication that you're actually on something and you're approaching that problem in the right way. So once you've evaluated the effectiveness, and you want to do this a few times, don't just take one or two people's word for it, especially don't speak to friends and family, people close to you. You want to actually speak to people who are in your ideal customer profile when you're doing this evaluation phase. You want to be speaking to the right people, getting the right opinions and getting the right feedback from people that you want to sell to eventually. Based on the outcome of that, you'll then want to look at building the MVP. So the MVP is essentially the leanest possible version of the entire solution. Again, that's usually one or two features, taking that prototype that we put together previously and expanding on it. When I say expanding on it, I mean building a real workable version with a database, with logic, with sign up, login, etc. And the idea with that is to get to market with a product as quickly as possible. For our clients, for the entrepreneurs, founders that we work with, we usually say that's between 6 and 12 weeks. Anything longer than 12 weeks, you're probably putting too much into it and adding too much complexity. So 6 to 12 week time frame is what you should aim for at the MVP stage. For us, we typically build with Bubble, which is a no-code development tool, but you can also use things like Base44 or Lovable. Be very careful with those unless you really know what you're doing. I'd probably recommend looking at Bubble and no-code solutions, because they handle a lot of the complexity around launching a tech MVP for you, like security, scalability, hosting, infrastructure, all of that kind of thing. That's why we go with Bubble, just because it manages a lot of that for us. So we can focus on building the MVP, getting you to market very quickly. You can focus on running the business and validating, and then all the technical stuff behind the scenes is already handled. Then we go into the test and monitor phase. So once the MVP is launched, this is where you really start to test the market, start to acquire first beta users, do a soft launch, which is typically invite only or via a waitlist. If you've done the prototype and the testing phase correctly, you should have some kind of waitlist. It could be 10, 20 people who are on a waitlist, ready to go, ready to jump in when you go live with your MVP. That's where you can start to onboard people in this test and monitor phase. The monitor component is monitoring how they're using the product. You can use heat map tracking tools, analytics, tools like Hotjar to track what areas of your software or your product are being used the most, where the mouse is hovered the most, if people are clicking things that they think are buttons when they're not buttons. We did this for our website and we found that any text that was highlighted or bolded, people would try and click, even though it wasn't a button. And then obviously we were able to remove that. So people assumed that parts of the website were broken, when actually it was just, they were trying to click some bold text. Really strange. You never really know how users will interact with your product until it's live, until you get to this monitor phase. So really important that you kind of stay in that phase for a good 3 months, at least, continually testing, monitoring, and also speaking to those customers and those users as well. Essentially trying to understand, did it resolve the problem? So that initial problem identification that you did at the beginning of the process is your MVP solving that problem in a way that's clear, easy to understand for users and customers, and in a way that they are willing to pay for. They don't have to be paying for it now, but at some point, will they be paying for it? If the answer to that is where you can start to evolve your MVP, iterate over time, and start to push marketing and focus on customer acquisition and getting basically people through the door, more eyeballs on the product, and going from MVP to essentially in production and scaling up from there. So I hope you found that useful. If you're interested in us helping you with this particular process, we've done it for over 100 products over the last 8 years. We work with experienced founders, typically non-technical founders who have an idea that they want to validate with an MVP or a prototype. And we run through this process time and time again, helping people save a lot of money, because lots of people will skip this. They'll start here, maybe identify a problem, but most of the time they just come up with an idea and then they jump to building MVP, spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and then rushing and ending up building something that people don't want. So we take clients that we work with through this particular process so that we're building something with a much higher chance of success. So if you're interested in that, click on the links in the video, book a free call with me or my team, and we'll go through it together, see how we can help, and hopefully we can work together soon. All right, thanks.